Republican presidential candidate representatives, and they have sent someone to speak in their behalf. Unfortunately, Newt Gingrich was invited but did not send anybody, so we can't have any word from that. If we could have, for Rick Santorum, we have Jennifer Wolsilk. Is that correct? They will each have 2 minutes to speak about their candidate, and we'll go on to the next one after this.
Thank you very much. I'm Jennifer Vasilk, and tonight I'm really not going to speak for Rick Santorum. I think he really speaks quite well for himself. I'm going to speak for myself. I've been asked by many people, why should I vote for Rick Santorum? And I'm going to tell you why I voted for Rick Santorum, and maybe that'll help you with your decision too. Rick Santorum thinks for himself. If you want a rubber stamp, Rick Santorum is not your man. Rick Santorum is principled. If you want a waffler who changes with the direction of the political wind, then Rick Santorum is not your choice for candidate. Rick Santorum tells it like it is, even if his audience is hoping to hear a fairy tale. He tells it like it is. If you want someone who sugarcoats reality, Rick Santorum is not your candidate. So my reply in answer to the question, why are you supporting Rick Santorum, is very simple. Rick Santorum is an independent thinker. Rick Santorum is principled. And Rick Santorum tells the truth. A presidential candidate doesn't get any better than that. Thank you.
Now speaking on behalf of Mr. Ron Paul, Mr. Jim Strang.
Good evening. My name is Jim Strang. I spent 40 years in the eddies of the mainstream media, and I voted for Ron Paul every time it was possible. This is why I did so. When George Washington left office, he warned the young country to avoid entangling alliances. When Dwight David Eisenhower left office, he sat down and spoke to the nation about a concern dear to his heart: the perfect storm that was forming between the nation's politics, its industry, and its military to form the military-industrial complex, a situation that he warned would someday eat the economy of the United States. Ron Paul is one of the few people in public life that understand that we have lost that battle that Eisenhower warned us against. 3 months before I was born, the United States and the Allies defeated Germany. Yet today we still have some 50,000 troops stationed there. We defeated Japan 3 months later. We now have 39,000 troops there. We have 300,000 men and women at arms stationed overseas, 1.2 million in the United States. No one says we should have a weak defense, but the United States spends $690 billion a year on its military budget. The next largest is China at $76 billion. There is room there to economize. Who do we vote for in a primary? We vote for the people in whose programs we believe. We're not choosing the lesser of two evils. We're speaking out to show the world that there is someone out there who represents our thoughts, our positions. That's why I support Ron Paul. That's why I would urge you to do the same. Thank you very much.
Now speaking on behalf of Mr. Mitt Romney, Alex Melendez.
Hi everybody, how are you? My name is Alex Melendez, and I'm here for the Mitt Romney campaign, and I just first want to thank the CHIP Forum for hosting me tonight. And are you guys excited about this election? Come on, okay, good. I'm not the only one in the building. I'm not going to get into the specific issues tonight, but I do want to tell you why I'm excited about this election and why I'm excited to work for Mitt Romney. And the first thing I think of is Ronald Reagan's 1964 speech, A Time for Choosing. At the time, our country had a clear choice. We can go down a path of big government and more taxes, or we can go down a path of smaller government, honoring the Constitution. I still think we picked the wrong path then. I still think we're paying for it today. But this election, this moment in history, this is our generation's time for choosing. What happens in this election will determine the fate of this country for the next 50 to 100 years, if not forever. Now, this week marks a sad milestone in the presidency of Barack Obama. It was this time 3 years ago that he promised to cut the deficit in half. Instead, he's brought more debt, more deficits, and decline. This is the first time in the history of the United States that a president has hit the $1 trillion deficit. And the budget he just proposed ensures there'll be over $1 trillion every year he's in office. It's not surprising, though, he's never run a state, he's never had to meet payroll, he's never balanced a budget. Mitt Romney's a businessman. He's started up businesses, he's turned around businesses, he's run a state. He cut taxes, he balanced the federal budget. That's the difference between the private sector. You actually have to look at both sides of the ledger, and you have to look at how much government is taking in and how much you're spending it. Mitt Romney has a plan that will do three things. Well, mainly for the first time, it will bring spending and revenue together. It will cut the deficit, it will create jobs, and it will reduce the size of government. Well, please go to mittromney.com to learn more information. Again, thank you for letting me speak tonight, and have a great night.
Our next category is Domestic Relations Judge, Court of Common Pleas. If we could have the candidates come up for a lineup over here. And as we wait, I'd just like to go off script a little bit and make everyone aware that there are several Vietnam veterans sitting in the audience. Would you mind standing and being recognized? We want to thank these gentlemen for their service to this country, and all veterans, not just Vietnam, but all veterans. Thank you. Good. Then we will begin. Domestic Relations Judge, Court of Common Pleas, Ms. Paulette Lilly.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. You will be asked to choose among 5 of us in the primary for a seat that is vacated in the Domestic Relations Court. In doing so, I ask that you rely upon our experience in making your decision. Among the 5, Mr. Janik has approximately 3 cases that he's handled in the Domestic Relations Court. Mr. Tony and Mr. Fritz have handled hundreds, and they are each very competent attorneys. Attorney Tobin likewise has handled several domestic relations matters. Unlike Mr. Janik and Ms. Tobin, Mr. Tony, Mr. Fritz, and I have all been married, and we all have children. What I believe sets me apart from my opponents is that I have handled hundreds of cases as an attorney. I have supervised attorneys who've handled cases in domestic relations court, and I have supervised a court budget and court personnel. Most importantly, I have handled thousands of cases as a domestic relations court judge. I have implemented programs to address the needs of our children in drug and alcohol addictions, and I have implemented programs that address the educational needs. I was married for nearly 20 years. I have raised children in part as a single parent. I have been through the system that brings to me the unique perspective that none of my opponents share. When you vote this March, I'm hoping that you will return me to the Domestic Relations Court judge. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Louise Tobin.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. I have been the person who has the experience that counts. You will hear all of the candidates. Everyone agrees. You've heard Paulette Lilly so far. pretty sure everyone will tell you it's about experience. You heard about Attorney Lilly's experience. My experience has been the kind that counts. I have been there for 25 years, more than 25, several more, consistently with the wives, the husbands, the children, the grandparents, the mothers, the fathers. In private practice, I have been there with them. And ask yourself if you've been through the process painfully yourself, because it is painful. Very few exceptions to that. Ask yourself, who knows you? The attorney who goes through it with you as your counselor and your guide and your advisor, and I would also say, friend. That person, or the person who looks down at you from the bench, the person who has been a prosecutor, etc. I am the person who's been the only one for all those years as the private practice attorney. How anyone could use the word several with reference to the cases I've had is astonishing to me, but that's it. I have been for many years a very successful mediator, and before becoming a lawyer, I was a successful classroom teacher. So I bring a unique perspective, I bring a unique experience, and I am geared towards settlement rather than litigation, and my time's just about up. So I think I am the best candidate, and I hope I will have your vote on March 6th. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Frank Janik.
Good evening. My name is Frank Janik, and I'm running for Lorain County Domestic Relations Court. It is a seat currently held by Judge Baczynski, who is retiring this year. A little bit about me. I've been an attorney for 22 years after graduating with honors from the Ohio State University College of Law. During those 22 years, I've been an assistant Lorain County prosecutor. I've taught criminal law at the Lorain County Community College. I've served as acting judge in the Oberlin Municipal Court, and I am the only candidate to have prosecuted felony non-support cases in the Domestic Relations Court. I've been active in the community. I've been elected twice to council at large in the city of Amherst. I am presently on council, and I am chair of the Finance Committee, and I have chaired the Police and Fire Committee. I've been active in my local community. I've been president of the Amherst Library Board of Trustees. I am on the board of directors for the Amherst Historical Society. I'm active in the St. Joseph's Church in Amherst, where I've been on the Finance Committee, and I am a lector and Eucharistic minister at church and to the homebound. I've also been active in the legal community, where I've been the chair of the criminal law section of the Lorain County Bar Association, and I'm currently on the executive board for the Lorain County Bar Association. I'm proud to say today I was endorsed by the Chronicle Telegram. I'm also endorsed by the Elyria Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 30, the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 179, which includes Sheffield Lake, Sheffield Village, and Wellington, the Lorain County AFL-CIO, the UAW Local 425 retirees, the Steelworkers Active retirees, the Elyria Firefighters, Local 474, and the Lorain Firefighters, Local 267. I spent 22 years as an attorney dedicated to the law and justice and to the community, and I respectfully ask for your vote on March 6th. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Joel Fritz.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joel D. Fritz. My platform is faith, family, and experience. I'm a member of St. Mary's Parish in Elyria, where I currently serve as an usher, and I served on parish council for 9 years, 7 of which I was parish chairperson, and I led over 1,200 families. On April 24th this year, I'll have been married 20 years to my wife, Mary. My wife and I are raising our 15-year-old daughter, Elizabeth. Folks, there's no substitute for experience. I've dedicated the majority of my 20 years of the practice of law to domestic relations and juvenile law. I urge you to go to Lorain County Online Records and type in my name, and you'll see that. I've guided over 400 families through crisis. I serve the citizens of Elyria on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I serve the citizens of Lorain County on the Notary Commission. As a judge, I plan to be more accessible. However, I plan to be proactive to what I consider the two biggest problems that face the domestic relations court. First, we need a parent initiative. Too many children have been raised with absent parents or none at all. Statistics show that they're likely to perpetuate the welfare cycle, they're likely to become criminals, they're likely to become drug addicts. Second, if I'm elected, I am going to form a juvenile roundtable, and that is going to address the rising and costly issue of juvenile justice. I'm going to put together a group of professionals, and with the help of school officials, we're going to create a curriculum, and we're going to go to the junior highs, and we're going to educate 13, 14-year-olds on justice, liberty, and what it takes to be a young American. The answer is not more detention homes. It's not bigger jails. I consider this to be the greatest civic duty if I am elected, to give back. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your vote on March 6th. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Michael Toney.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Michael J. Toney, candidate for Domestic Relations Court Judge. I thank you for this opportunity to address you this evening. I'm from Lorain, grew up in Lorain, I live in Lorain. I went to Southview High School. My father worked for 37 years at Ford Motor Company, UAW retiree, and fought in the Korean War. My mother was a school teacher, or not a teacher, worked in the teacher's lounge at Southview. I got a lot of my excuses when she was working there. But more importantly, she retired from the union. I worked at Ford Motor Company. I'm a former member of Local 425 in Lorain Assembly. My prior work experience involves this after I graduated from high school. I worked in a detention home. I know what that's like. I was a deputy sheriff. I have experience in law enforcement. I also was director of a halfway house that dealt with individuals who had drug and alcohol problems. Such issues that encounter the court on a daily basis with some of the families and juvenile delinquents that come before it. I too pledge to go out into the community. I've been married 21 years, have 2 children, and every parent out there knows 2 things. Your children give you your greatest joys and your greatest sorrows. And that life experience is important to be a family court judge. After law school, I worked about 4 years as assistant county prosecutor. And for the last 19 years, I've been committed to representing families and children in Lorain County. Now, when you go out and make your evaluation process to select a lawyer, think about the qualities and skills that you want when you make that call to be your lawyer to go in domestic relations court with you. Those are the same qualities and skills you need to go through in your evaluation process for your next judge. And when you do that, you'll come but to one conclusion. I'm the best candidate, and I humbly ask you for your vote on March 6, 2012, and I thank the Chips for allowing me to be here.
Our next group is Domestic Relations Judge, Court of Common Pleas, and we will have Lisa Swinsky and David Berta. We have them come up. While we're waiting, again, I have to go a little bit off script, and as I've noticed the gentlemen who risked their lives and fought for the freedom of this country, I also see the future of our country sitting right down here in front of me. The Model UN students from Lorain High School, would you stand and be recognized, please? That's our future, and they're here. That's remarkable. I really commend you. Again, our next category is Domestic Relations Judge, Court of Common Pleas. And first up, we have Lisa Swinsky.
Thank you. Thank you to Chip for having me here. Again, my name is Lisa Swensky, and I'm running for Domestic Relations Court for the term commencing January 3rd, 2013. I've sat in that audience often and watched the Chip debates and the panel debates, and I've watched them on television. It's a little bit different being up here, so I'm a little nervous. But I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Lorain, graduated from Southview High School and St. John's School. After high school, I enlisted in the United States Army, and I served my country as an intelligence analyst with the 501st Military Intelligence Group in Korea. After the military, I became a security contractor and a private investigator in the Washington, D.C. area. I returned home in 1986 after a family tragedy involving my two cousins. I helped raise them, and I buried one in June. So I know a little bit about family, and family is very important to me, and that's why I'm running for domestic relations judge. 1 minute. I have a bet with one of the other candidates that I can get it in under 2 minutes, so here we go. If you want to know more about me, check me out on swenskyforjudge.com. I was an intake magistrate for 3 years. I was a domestic relations and juvenile delinquency magistrate. I've been a lifelong Democrat. I was registered to vote at Southview High School in 1981. And I'm humbly asking for your vote on March 6, 2012 for Domestic Relations Court. Now, before I leave, I just want to tell you one thing. What I learned in the Army was that when you're hit, you get back up and you fight. And when you're hit, you get back up and you fight. And you fight the good fight. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. I've been doing that my whole career for children and families, and I'm going to keep doing that. March 6, 2012, Lisa Swensky. Thank you.
And next up, we have Mr. David Berta.
Thank you to CHIPS for this opportunity to speak tonight. I think it's a very important educational purpose, and I'm glad that it is being taped so we can all review this. My name is David J. Berta. I'm currently a judge in the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court, where I was elected in 2006. I am seeking your support for my second term. I live in Lorain. I'm married to Dawn for 6 years, and we have one child named Luke, who is 4 years of age. I'm a lifelong Democrat, vote in primaries on a regular basis, and I am a member of the Hungarian Reformed Church in Lorain. I am proud of the accomplishments that I have actually achieved on the bench thus far. I've served 6 years as judge, managed a multi-million-dollar budget, which is approximately $10 million per year, and I have, in fact, helped cut $2.1 million from that budget of public dollars, despite being a judge and being able to order that budget as it is. I implement and run the Lorain County Juvenile Mental Health Court, which is a diversion program for juveniles that seek counseling. At that point in time, they get an opportunity to have their crimes dropped, as long as, in fact, that they are in a plan that meets with our satisfaction. I do that without additional tax dollars. I'm the first judge in Lorain County to mandate all court hearings be made to the public. My doors are never locked. Anyone can view what goes on in our courthouse, in my courtroom, at any time. I have many endorsements, approximately 10, but I will highlight 3. The Lorain Fraternal Order of Police number 3, Lorain County AFL-CIO Federation of Labor, and the Ohio Conference of Teamsters. I'm very happy with the Ohio Conference of Teamsters, as I'm the first judge in Lorain County that actually let their detention workers unionize. It needed a union approval of a judge, and I, in fact, have done that. I am recommended by Lorain County Bar Association, Lorain County Democrats, and I have been recognized by Lorain County Voices for Children for my work with dependent and neglected children. I believe that based upon the past, I have in fact done what I set out to do. I've implemented new programs, not spent additional funds, and have done exactly what a judge should do, keeping my doors open to all, and transparency for all. For these reasons, I think that I deserve the next term, and I would definitely appreciate your support come March 6th. Thank you.
I will now introduce or bring up Mary Santiago, who will be your next moderator. Thank you for attending, and welcome, Mary.
We will now do the Court of Common Pleas. John Maraldi and Chris Cook. John Maraldi would come in first.
Good evening. My name is John Maraldi, and I'm a Democratic candidate for judge in the Lorain County Court of Common Pleas. I have 25 years of experience working exclusively in the County Court of Common Pleas as a trial attorney. I understand that equal access to the courtroom is meaningless if a person cannot afford to hire an attorney. So for 25 years, I've represented everyday people under a contract that states that I would only be paid if I win. During my career, I have handled a variety of cases with an emphasis on complex civil litigation. I have argued in the Court of Appeals and handled cases in the Federal District Court for the United States. I've been educated in criminal law and criminal procedure. I was honored to receive the highest rating possible for a judicial candidate by my fellow attorneys at the Lorain County Bar Association. In a survey judging important areas such as character, integrity, judicial capacity, temperament, and work ethic, I was highly recommended by my peers. I am one of only 2 Lorain County attorneys ever to serve on the prestigious board of the Cleveland Academy of Trial Attorneys. I was born and raised in Lorain, Ohio. I currently live in Elyria with my wife of 25 years, Kimberly, and our 3 children. I'm an active member at Church of the Open Door. I believe in giving back to the community, and so I served as a volunteer board member for the Lorain County Legal Aid Society, an organization that provides free legal services to the poor. I also volunteer as an 8th grade basketball coach and with our men's ministry at the church. I have the qualifications, I have the experience, and I have the desire to serve this community as the next Common Pleas Court judge. On March 6th, I'd be honored to also have your vote. Thank you.
Chris Cook, can you please come up?
Hola. It's about the best I can do. My name is Chris Cook, and I'm running against Mr. Maraldi for Common Pleas Court Judge in the General Division. I want to thank CHIPS for providing this forum and allowing us to speak to the community and tell you a little about ourselves. CHIPS provides a great public service, and this is a very important evening for all. Like my opponent, I am also highly recommended by the Bar Association, which is the highest ranking. I've been a private attorney for 19 years, and like my opponent, have handled complex civil litigation. I've argued in the courts of appeals, but I've also argued multiple times in the Ohio Supreme Court and in the federal courts. I'm the magistrate of the Lorain Municipal Court, and I've held that position for 8 years. I have a courtroom, I run a docket, I oversee trials, I make decisions involving people's lives every day, including decisions involving incarceration and jail. I am an acting judge in the Avon Lake Municipal Court. I have judicial experience. I'm the prosecutor for Sheffield Village and a former 2-term assistant county prosecutor. I've handled just about every type of felony prosecution. I'm also a criminal defense lawyer. I'm not just trained in criminal law, I know criminal law. I'm also very active in the Bar Association. I'm a past president of the Lorain County Bar Association. I chair the admissions committee, which means every lawyer who wants to try to pass the bar in in Lorain County, has to go through my approval. I also am on the ethics committee. I'm a 5-year member of the Communication Workers of America, and I'm a vested pension holder in that union. And that union, the CWA, put me through law school while I worked at night. While I worked at day and went to law school at night. I'm a member of St. Joseph Catholic Church in Avon Lake. I'm married with 2 children. This has been a great opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I ask for your support and your vote on March 6th in the primary election. And as Senor Arendando stated, the primary election is extremely important. and our voting record in in primaries and the ability to come out and vote, all of you, is paramount. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and that will conclude our judges' race. And now we're going to go into our roundtable. U.S. Congress 7th District, if you can please come up.